did President Trump ask you to stay here in D.C.?
Well, look, over the last 6 months, I have, weighed this decision and really went through my own process to make a determination of what was best ultimately for me, my family, my district, and New York. I've been able to do a lot in the last 2.5 years to not only support my district, but to fight for New York, including lifting the cap on salt. Democrats said they were going to get that done when they had complete control. They promised New Yorkers they would deliver on that. They did not. I fought and got that done, went toe-to-toe with some of my own colleagues, and pushed back against efforts by the Senate and others to bring that all the way down to zero. So we were successful in that. That weighed heavily on me, the work that we've been able to accomplish. And look, my district obviously is one of the most competitive in the country. In the last election, 35 seats were decided by 5 points or less. Mine was not one of them. I won by 6.5 points in a district that has 80,000 more Democrats than Republicans. So I understand how important my district is, being one of only 3 Republicans to represent a district won by Kamala Harris last November, how important it is to keeping the majority. I also understand how important it is to have a strong candidate for governor. And so I weighed all of this and ultimately made a decision that I'm comfortable with in remaining in the House and continuing the work that I've done on financial services, on foreign affairs, as chair of the Middle East and North Africa subcommittee. There's a lot we're dealing with respect to Iran and Israel and our Arab partners in the region. So, a lot of work ahead. And, certainly last week I met with the president, had a fulsome discussion on all of these issues, including the New York City mayor's race, the governor's race, and Congress. And the president certainly, expressed his preference that I stay in the House. But ultimately, this was my decision and one that I made after months of deliberation.
Well, building off of this, if we just stick with the governor's race for a moment here, Congressman, do you think that your fellow House member, Elise Stefanik, should jump into the race? Did you discuss with her your decision ahead of time?
No, her and I did not have a discussion ahead of time. Obviously, Elise has intimated that she is strongly considering running. My view is if she's going to do it, she should get in. And if she's not, she should make that clear. We need to unify behind a candidate and start to build a campaign to defeat Kathy Hochul. She's the most incompetent governor in America, bar none. And has created a calamity in our state. We lead the nation in out-migration. We have the highest tax burden, the worst business climate, a declining quality of life with a crime and migrant crisis. And as governor and lieutenant governor, she added $100 billion in state spending in 1 decade. And that is a large part of why New York is so unaffordable to so many and why people continue to leave the state in droves.
Well, everybody's talking tough, Congressman. It's the season, I'm sure, as we heard from the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee put out a statement saying Mike Lawler might have chickened out of a statewide race, but he cannot outrun the heinous record of rubber stamping Trump's extreme agenda at every turn. You have a special way here in a state that has a habit of electing Democrats. How do you keep this district red?
Look, I have always appealed directly to the voters, regardless of party. On the issues that matter. At the end of the day, whether you're Republican or Democrat doesn't really matter. What people are focused on is they want a good paying job to provide for their families, a quality education for their children, access to housing and health care, and they want to live in a safe neighborhood. And that has always been my priority, my focus, and we have delivered for my district. And when you look at the tax bill, the fact is, I guess my Democratic colleagues are opposed to giving seniors a $6,000 tax deduction. They're opposed to an enhanced child tax credit. They're opposed to making the rates permanent. They're opposed to the small business tax credits and deductions. They're opposed to lifting the cap on salt. So ultimately, that's something they're going to have to explain to voters why they're against things, common sense things like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Most Americans support that. They support the common sense reforms to make sure that able-bodied adults and illegal immigrants aren't milking the system and taking away from the very people who need Medicaid, our seniors, our children, our IDD community. So I will continue to defend my record and run proudly on the work that I've done here in Washington. And I know when the votes are tallied next November, I will be successful once again. The Democrats certainly haven't learned in their previous races against me. But beyond that, they also are going to have to deal with the real reality, which is that they have an avowed socialist who is spewing Marxist theory about seizing the means of production, trying to ban private ownership of property, freeze the rent, free busing, government-run grocery stores, on the verge of becoming mayor of New York City, the financial capital of the world. And there's a reason that Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and Kathy Hochul are betwixt and between. They don't know whether to endorse them or oppose them, because either way, they're screwed.
Well, Congressman, in our final minutes here, I want to get into some actual policy with you, because we had House Speaker Mike Johnson here at our Bloomberg Bureau earlier today. He said that Republicans are already starting to work on a second reconciliation package and that they're looking to get this done by late fall. You perhaps know better than anyone how difficult these negotiations can be. What sort of priorities do you think could actually get through the House as it stands now for a second package down the line?
Well, look, obviously, I'm open to listening to the Speaker's thoughts on this and my other colleagues, but I would have to really understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish with the second reconciliation bill and what would be included in it. We have an appropriations process and a government funding that is coming due September 30th. That is our priority, our focus right now. The Appropriations Committee is working through that. It's going to require bipartisan support, whether it's a CR for the short term or whether it is the actual appropriations bills. I think we need to get about that work. We need to be working to address the funding of our government. A shutdown would not serve anyone well, least of all the American people. So I think it's imperative that obviously we get focused on that as we work through this August recess and come back in September. And make sure that we really address that before getting to any discussion about a second reconciliation bill.